All right, welcome to the Kona Daily Pods, brought to you by Trainingpeaks, the #1 training app in the world. It's used by everyone, from world tour coaches to first-time triathletes. Trainingpeaks is the gold standard for planning, tracking, and making sense of all the suffering. We're here at the Ironman World Championships in Kailua Kona, the Super Bowl of suffering and athletes pissing themselves. This week's going to be a bit different. This isn't your average media circus. You're not going to hear us dragging pros in interviews between their sponsor shoots and hot and sweaty booth appearances. We want to give them a break this week. They've already got enough media and cameras in their face. Instead, you're going to get the chaos, the rumors on the island, and the stories from people who are actually here on the island. So there's just something about this island. If you've never been here, it's a magical place. You got to come around the race time. So we're just hoping to bring a glimpse of that to you guys who are not here right now. These are going to be short little micro pods, kind of daily pods. We know all y'all's time is valuable, so we appreciate you giving it to us. So we'll be quick. We plan to have on some triathlon nerds, former pros, coaches, and a few people who have absolutely no idea what they're talking about and probably shouldn't be holding a mic in the first place. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Pro Tri News. I am your host, Talbot. We got the whole gang here. We are actually at the Canyon legit House of Champions. I know we've been at Lava Java earlier this week, but this is the actual multi-trillion-dollar house they rented out. Massive shout out to Trainingpeaks. It's been the best week ever. And not only the best week ever, the greatest race on this island that I have ever watched personally.
In person, certainly.
In person.
Yeah,
I mean,
they've been better in history, but that was mental.
Stuff. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. The amount of drama, the lead changes. I think we just need to go back to the start of the day.
First thing I noticed whenever everyone was getting ready in transition, things like that, Cat Matthews obviously wearing an ice vest to keep the core temperature down. And then if you look further down, Taylor Knibb was wearing the black Roka swim skin, which I felt like was an interesting choice. I hadn't seen anyone wearing the long sleeve swim skin for this race, let alone a black one. So that stood out to me before the race started.
I was not near the swim start. Mark, were you at the swim start? Did you see where everyone kind of lined up and all the ladies?
We were kind of hanging out, right? And Kat can hear me right now. And then it was like, there's a few minutes to go. Kat probably needs to go around the corner. And the woman went, "Oh, can you come with me?" And Kat just left. Didn't say goodbye. No good luck. No, love you, husband. And everyone around was like, "Oh, I guess she's gone." So after that, I actually didn't see them. But I agree, the long sleeve black swim skin here is an interesting choice. I think that's a good early observation.
Yeah.
Is that just hindsight is a beautiful thing though? Because we all saw what happened to her 8 hours later. So I'm not sure. Maybe we're digging in more than we should be.
The swim got underway.
And the big thing was the rain, right? Like the rain in the morning, Kaiden.
Yeah, the rain in the morning, that was not something that I was expecting. It's pretty random, I guess you could say. Like every now and again, there'll be that dump that comes first thing in the morning. But
and what happens after the dump in the morning? What happens later in the day?
Yeah, right when the rain comes down, and when we were driving down first thing this morning, and I saw that highway completely soaked in water, I said today is going to be extremely hot, and we're going to see a lot of blow-ups because it's going to be super humid. And lo and behold,
that's what happened.
We saw it. The swim got underway. Right away, Lucy put on the pressure. It's clear that she wasn't wanting to go with anyone. She wasn't wanting to work with anyone. Was doing some backstroke at about quarter way through. Y'all know when she was doing that?
She does the old flip over, double stroke on her back, have a look back and carry on. I think that the reality of this sport is Lucy can swim backstroke as she could swim in the front group backstroke.
Yeah.
I kind of actually genuinely believe that.
Yeah.
So she's not taking the piss. She just has this skill set that allows her to judge the damage she's doing, what's going on. And I admire her for it. And it's not like luck. She swam thousands and thousands of kilometers as a child and every day of her life since. Fair play.
Yeah.
it's also a little hard to commentate on these races if you are on the ground because you don't actually watch every second of it unfold on the live stream like a lot of people at home. It's also a little awkward because Kat's sitting right over here and I'm about to make a comment and maybe she'll be like, bro, you weren't even there, so shut up. It looks like that group was all together and then there was a split and then Kat was on the other side of that split and that was the string that popped.
Yeah, I think the problem for Kat is like Kat's swimming extremely well, but can she swim in a group led by Taylor Knibb? No. Mm-hmm. But can she swim in a group led by Hannah Berry or one of those others? Yes. And the problem was that she was just the last to get dropped and the group didn't split early enough. So like everyone in that group, if you look at that front group that came out, bar Chelsea Sodaro, who had an exceptionally good swim, you would consider extremely good swimmers.
Yeah.
So she basically just ends up in no man's land where then she's like, well, I've just been dropped from this group. Well, obviously, I'm just going to wait for the next group because I'm not swimming this whole thing solo. And she was just, it didn't split enough, basically. Taylor wasn't fast enough to drag a few others off, or however you want to look at it. And that was where she landed.
Yeah, I think it was a very interesting swim. Also, back with the rain, like that created that texture on the water first thing in the morning. It was not as flat as we were expecting. That's
Right,
for
sorry. This isn't a surf podcast. There was texture on the water.
What
Mate,
do you
you're
want me to
such
say?
a surf boy. I love it.
What do you want
I
me to
love
say?
it.
What do you want me to say?
It looked like
Bruh.
It's texture. It's not glass. There's texture on
Mate,
it.
you're right. It was choppy, right?
it was really choppy.
Really choppy,
and I
yeah.
think that's where that group began to lose more and more and more time because Lucy swam through it like it was nothing. And then there was that Taylor group that was just strung along. And then there was Kat's group. And then they came in. Lucy had a dominant lead. Fastest swim split on the day.
Correct.
Haley Chura. Now that Lucy's out of the race. Interesting.
Excellent. Good for her.
It's because a lot of people forget that once their fastest was today and then they get DNF,
They have
don't
to
get
finish.
that. They have to finish to get that. So Haley Chura, who's one of the phenomenal swimmer in our sport.
A phenomenal swimmer. Been around the sport for a long time. We've actually bagged on her a little bit for some of her kit at times and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But hey, kudos, Haley. You have a fastest swim split at an Ironman
At a World Championship.
in
That is
Kona.
awesome. That is awesome.
Good for her.
Yeah. They all came into transition. Lucy was all guns ago, but then came that pack. And I still got to say, Mark's already said it, shocked to see Chelsea in that pack.
I guess we shouldn't have been. Maybe we didn't pay enough attention to how good her swim was in Kalmar, was it? Was
Right.
that what she raced?
Yeah.
Like, her swim without, actually, I looked them back, was really good.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe she's shown examples of that all year.
Yeah.
But,
She did upper swim quite a bit. I believe it was either the all-in triathlon or one of the pods that we did going into this race. It was like Chelsea's swim is the question mark of like she could make that group. She may be swimming out a little bit outside of her ability, but she swims in Boulder with the big squad that Julie Dibbins leads, and so there's a possibility. Her and Taylor Knibb swim in that group pretty regularly together. So does Gwen. So that's kind of like going into the race. We were like, she could maybe make that group or be thereabouts. And
But
then,
I guess, like, Lucy didn't have the fastest swim split.
No.
Chelsea didn't make that group.
I don't think we ever said Lucy was going to make. Chelsea was going to make that group.
I think
I saw.
Yeah,
Chelsea.
no, we did.
Chelsea
We did.
was in a phenomenal position. She couldn't have put herself in a better position to get back on the podium or win another world title in this race.
Holly Lawrence, she was second out of the water behind Haley.
Yeah, that's not too much of a surprise.
I don't think that's a surprise. I think Holly's a beautiful swimmer that's aggressive and fighty and
But then was
always good at that.
clearly then just setting up the day that she had, right? And we'll get into that later. But for Holly to end up getting sixth place in a debut.
I'll be honest, I'll be honest. I didn't used to be a real Holly fan. Like, just because you're not a fan of some athletes and you are of others, like, I like her as a person, but I was like, she's a bit fighty in the swim. I don't really root for her necessarily. And this year, I've actually become a bit of a Holly fan because the way she's come back from her pregnancy and how fighty and like the way she's performed.
Yeah, been all in. So.
Been all in, and do you know what? She was great today.
Okay, so we're out of the water in a transition.
I do want to say one more thing about the swim because I'm a surfer boy.
Okay, point break.
Point Break.
Okay.
Hit us, Johnny Utah.
When it comes to Chelsea having
Great
good swim,
knowledge.
I 100% think swimming with that Julie Diven squad has upped her swim. But if you can swim on feet and you're good at swimming on feet, when it's a choppier swim like it was this morning, it is exceptionally easier to make a pack like that if you're good at swimming on feet because they just break the water for you. I'm not dogging on Chelsea for not like making that pack because of that, but that definitely does help. And that's one reason I bet why we saw her in that pack.
And I honestly think it's actually a weakness of Kat's, and she would say the same. She does not like sight onto feet particularly well versus her pull ability, so it's totally fair.
Cool. Now we're in transition. Obviously, first out on to the...
Solvig Lofseth got out in... We need to keep an eye... Like, let's not talk about the favourite.
Keep
Let's
following
in
her.
mind.
Yep.
Yeah,
She got out in the Kat Laura group about 6.5 minutes back.
correct.
Done.
Moving on to transition, there was a very, very large chase pack, probably 20 people. And in that chase pack was Kat Matthews. We did post a reel online about the ice.
I actually haven't seen this reel. Basically, like Laidlow did it last year, put loads of ice in a helmet, and we've tested it a couple of times. And then something about today meant that the bag of ice I used, or the humidity that Kaiden suggested, meant that it just formed one big block rather than just melt and drip through. And it then stuck to all of the pads inside her helmet.
So she couldn't even get it on.
Well, she just stuck with like a giant block of ice in the helmet. And we tested it loads of times. It was fine.
Yeah.
And so she just gets there and is like, how great. I mean, I don't know what you want to do with stuff like that. Like, if you try something for a first time and it goes wrong, well, it's probably your fault. But, like, you just look at that and you're like, oh, cheers,
Yeah.
Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then obviously the big thing for Kat was then she had to chew through a bunch of traffic, right? In that third group, we'll call it, you know, I mean, it was the second group on the road, but we'll call it was Lucy, the first chase, and the second chase that Kat was in.
Like,
so,
she was 40 down on Laura at one point, like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not like joking around here. I have the clip real quick. I just want to run it. Kat arrives at her bike at 5 seconds and then leaves at 40 seconds.
Well, it costs her the entire world title.
Kat's a
then,
world
right,
champion.
Mate? That
Kat's
makes-
a world champion.
Yeah, okay, yeah, done.
I'm just kidding. I don't think that had any effect on the race.
No,
Kat
she
would have
got back
rode
there.
with
she got back
phenomenal ride.
before everyone
No.
broke away
She had a bad ride, and but she got there before that happened, like quite easily. And she smiled at me coming up Polani, and that honestly saved my entire psychological well-being, having realised what had happened with the ice. Like, she smiled at me like, all good, and then just had no legs.
Yeah.
So, like, Solvig went, and we know Kat can ride with Solvig on a good day, but Solvig was on a really good day.
Yeah.
It wasn't the ice. You know?
And we were a little concerned that there was Lisa and who else was in that group? Right
Well,
up the
Laura
road?
Phillip.
Laura Phillip were right up the road and had potentially, I don't want to say dropped, but they had put some distance into Kat and Solvig, and I was like, it's a good thing that Kat has Solvig, but I hope they don't
agree.
open that gap.
I agree. Like, it was a good thing that the way Kat was riding today, in all honesty, it was a good thing Kat had Solvig. Kat had to close 20 seconds to get to Solvig to start with. But then, you know, you burnt a match there, and then Solvig closed the gap for her. And, yeah, that's the way racing works, right?
Yep. So I was wrong on a take. I thought that Taylor would have been able to catch Lucy by Polani to get out onto the Queen K, and that wasn't the case. She didn't catch her until Hawi, and then by the time they got to Hawi, Taylor caught her, and then Taylor stopped at special needs and then dropped back.
Yeah, I think, did we all underestimate a little how good Lucy was on the bike today, in the sense that they pulled away so much from the third group, from the second and the third group, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think, I thought that Taylor would make that catch a little bit earlier, but
Same.
then I mean, really, when you're looking at the race and seeing it as it goes on, it was clear that that those two were actually just riding so much
Ballistic.
better than
They were riding ballistic.
everybody else, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to think that they had 14 minutes, effectively on the chase at the end, I mean, was crazy.
Yeah. gnarly. During the bike, we had past world champion Chelsea Sodaro pull out of the race, and then a penalty on the bike for unintentional littering for Lucy Charles-Barclay. So that was kind of the only two, I would say.
All right,
I'll cover.
okay.
I'm going to cover this
Thank
one.
you so much.
I'll take this.
Thank you
I'll
so
fall on
much,
this grenade.
Patrick.
Do we think? And this really is. I'm not. This is not Lucy's fault, but it is the cages that she has used on her bike's fault, because I mean she's has lost a shitload of bottles in the years that we've been watching her, right?
I've
is
been
not the
watching.
first-
We've been watching a lot of races over the last 4 years that this podcast has started. This isn't the first time we're mentioning Lucy losing bottles on a bicycle.
And it's not the third, fourth, or fifth time either.
I think, right, we could make this a thing, but we could also probably agree that Lucy and Reese are at home being like fair cop.
Yeah.
I don't think that, like, she's lost about 20 bottles in the last 10 years. And, like, it's just, I think it's dexterity, coordination, it's the position, it's the airiness. I'm glad she got picked up for one because she's lost about 20, but they're also probably like, fair play.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it didn't. And here's the thing:
It didn't influence the race.
It didn't impact the race. It just. I didn't think it's not a BS call. The issue is
It's just factual.
yeah. But of course because she's always riding at the front. She's typically always going to have a visual on her for somebody to make that call.
Well, no, but if you say that, she wouldn't. We saw 1 year when she lost 4 in 1 year. So she has got away with lots of them. And I'm not saying she deserves a penalty or anything like that. I'm just saying I don't think they will feel that bitter about it. Because Jocelyn McCauley's been done for a couple when she should not have any cameras on her. And it just seems to happen to her. So I reckon Lucy will be like, fair cop.
Yep.
But
I think 1 minute is the right amount of time. Can we agree on that?
I think so, because it stops people deliberately doing it. Pretend to put it in, throw it on the
Throw it
floor.
out. Yeah,
So I do
sure.
think you need a penalty, but it shouldn't ruin your race.
Yeah.
It didn't ruin her race. She got back into the lead. I think it's one of those situations that it was like good refereeing, unfortunate, done.
So I want to talk about the catch that Taylor made on coming out to Hawi. I mean, what seemed to be at the bottom of that climb, which was holding at, I mean, that gap got extended out to 220 at one point.
That was a wild bit of bike riding.
And whatever effort Taylor put in from the bottom of Hawi to the top was obviously something that was pretty.
And by the way, it wasn't actually even the bottom to the top. She didn't really, because the first half is quite flat.
Right.
She really turned it on the last half. It was everyone else basically held same, like the losses they were making, and Taylor just jumped 90 seconds.
Yeah, but
That's quite a strenuous effort.
But Solvig also made a bunch of progress there, not only on the group behind her, but she did take a little bit of time out of Lucy as well in that.
Really small, though, not like Taylor.
Yeah, you don't know, of course.
Do you think that Taylor wanted to see her before the finish? Before the turnaround.
I don't know. I think she wanted to just see her at some point, and she knew that like a hill is the best. If she
I
wants to
think
make some time
Taylor's
back.
the best climber in our sport by such a magnificent margin that the one sustained decent length of climb is the run into Hawi, and that for her was the obvious place to turn the gas. And I think she is a phenom on the bike in triathlon, and she's light. Her bike's light. She climbs like unbelievably well. If I was her, if I was looking at her course profile and planning out where you should attack, to me it was so blindingly obvious that's where she should do it. Mm-hmm. I was just super impressed she had the ability to still do it after 90k on the bike, and fair play to her.
Yeah. And are we just going to jump over Chelsea?
What else needs to be said?
I don't know.
Do we want to say? I mean,
We don't know what happened yet. Let's wait to see what she has to say.
Someone said that she got sick
yeah,
throwing up. That's what I saw on
lost
Instagram.
nutrition.
Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
let's.
Skip for now.
Let's give her the grace. She's a former world champion. Let's wait to see what she has to say.
Show some respect.
And again, great swim. Give her that
Phenomenal
at least.
swim.
Great swim, great looking bike.
Yeah.
She made that Ventman look sick. It's a nice looking bike anyway, of course. Sorry. But, nice.
Yeah. So they start
Live from the Canyon House.
Solvig pulls away on the bike. Do we want to get to that point where she
Right,
pulls away from the
that
group?
was
That was
before we've
before,
got to.
That was
yeah.
before the climb into Hawi.
Right. But that's going on while Taylor and Lucy are up towards Hawi. This is what's happening behind.
Yeah, like if we're like brutally honest, Laura is not riding well at this point, and Kat's not riding well.
Yeah.
Like then they don't get dropped like that on a. It was basically a downhill.
Yeah.
But Solvig utilized the course beautifully. She is a heavier rider. She is the heaviest of the women in probably the top 10 because she's a tall girl.
Yeah.
You know, and she's strong.
She's like 6 foot tall, 2 meters.
No, I don't think she's quite that tall. But she's a tall girl, and she is a strong lady. And she utilized the course perfectly. And she said later she didn't mean to really attack. She just looked back and there was a gap, and she was like, I'm not going to swear on this podcast once, I've decided. She was like, I'm off. Normally I would prefix that. And she's like, I'm off. And she just rode solo. And she thought her whole time, have I overdone it? Have I overdone it? But she really clearly hadn't. And I've talked about her all year. I feel comfortable that I've never underplayed her abilities. I didn't think she'd win this race.
Yeah.
But I really believe that she one day would. And she just did it a little bit earlier than we thought. And I thought her riding was magnificent. Let's be honest, she rode solo, you know,
Right.
from gun to tape.
Yeah.
And was her bike split was... Are we good to end on the bike? Move on to something else?
Yeah.
Okay, so fastest bike split was Taylor Knibb. Because she DNF'd, that doesn't count. So Solvig Lofseth is now the fastest bike split, 53 seconds behind what Taylor Knibb's was, so 4:31.53. Lucy DNF, and then Katrina Matthews next, which was about 9 minutes back from Solvig's. So into T2, we had one DNF coming out of T2, Lotte Wilms, and we're off Taylor Knibb, leading the race. So T Knibb leading the race, and then moving on to Lucy Charles-Barclay, close chasing behind, and then big group of about 6 women. 6 women coming off together with Kat. How many? What was Kat's group?
Like Kat, Laura, and Lisa got gapped a bit. Hannah Berry. Oh no, Jocelyn McCauley came off with Kat and Laura, and then Hannah Berry was a little bit back. Then Lisa Patera.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, when I saw Kat and Laura run out of transition, I thought, again, I mustn't swear, what are they up to?
Yeah.
The speed they ran out was, it was ridiculous, right?
Absolutely flying. Passing Lava Java at mile 1, just...
I mean, they were genuinely running 2:35 pace at that point. Like they were absolutely rocket ship. And let's be honest, is that a bit of a grudge match and 2 women that are like, we have had this beef before and we are settling this now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sure seemed like that. It sure seemed like that. And when I saw you at what it must have been 4 or 5K in, you're like, dude, they're running 240 pace right now.
They were absolutely flying. And I said to you, I was like, one of them's going to blow up. And I really hope it happens sooner rather than later, so the other one still stands a chance. Because if they went like that head to head for 18, 19K, they would have both walked all the way home.
Right.
No chance.
Yeah.
But Solvig,
Yeah. Solvig had a gap
solid.
on them.
Just solid, consistent running.
Yeah.
She's robust, she's strong, and she's just...
Did you guys
That's
observe
phenomenal.
how many times on the live stream, like, she must have talked to Casper or observed Casper in the past, because the amount of times she was glancing down at her watch, both on the live stream at the beginning of the race and then also at the end of the race.
I can only think on this course, it's like Kat does, it's heart rate. Because the hills on this course, I don't think pace is that useful to you. Like, I think if you're trying to run to a pace on this course, I don't know what you're running to, because you're either up or you're down.
Right.
There really isn't much
It's
flat.
never flat.
So I think it must have been a heart rate check.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you just until you come here and have to ride a bike on this course, or even worse, run it. You really underestimate from the TV how hilly this bike course,
Pat,
the run
you
course is.
didn't have to do it on a Target $110 bike.
Dude,
Pat saw me. I was getting dropped by them running at the start. When Kat and Laura were running hard and they were running way too fast, I could barely keep up on my $110 Huffy from Target. And Pat was like, "Why didn't you bring your bike?"
That's
I was blowing. I'm honestly blowing.
And while that Solvig was running, there was a run battle going on behind her, and there was a run battle going on in front of her. And that was the change of, if you haven't watched the live stream, if you're in America, download a VPN, go where you watch it. open up the live stream and just rewatch this run battle between Taylor and Lucy. Just absolutely phenomenal of trading blows.
And I think, like, I mean, Kaiden and I spent a lot of the day leapfrogging, but Taylor had, over 2 minutes off the bike. No, 1 minute 40 or
she had
two.
a minute 30.
Minute 30 off the bike.
coming off
Yeah,
the
Lucy rode the back half well.
And then obviously it's like Lucy pulled a bunch of that time back, and then they effectively, the catch is made at the top of the Queen K. But then Taylor just holds that gap, and it never really blows out more than 50 or 60 meters, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually, probably 2K before the energy lab, the pass is made back. Yeah, I mean,
yeah. And not only that, too, but so she had 130 Taylor had on Lucy coming out of T2, right? And then Lucy had that little fiddle with her shoe at the aid station. No idea what was going on there. But that brings it back to probably overall a minute 50 at some point. And then Lucy brings that all back in by the time they get halfway up Polani. So in that stretch of Elite Drive up to Polani, 2 minutes to bring back. And then to get to the top of Polani and then run 10K, 8K at 40 meters and just kept it there. It was pretty interesting. And that's when I turned to Pat and I said, something's up, because you don't bring out 2 minutes and then sit at 40 meters.
That's such a good observation.
It just didn't make sense. And then the next aid station right after we said that, she walked half of it. Taylor got to, 10 meters behind her, and then the next aid station, the pass was made.
It was so many blows being thrown out there. But do we think that they were overrunning?
And biking, I think.
I mean, I think what I thought about this during the press conference, right? We always talk about that the women's race has got a 3 or 5 year lag from the men's race. I think that this was just ended up being a copy paste of last year's men's race.
100%.
They just sent it on the bike because they were afraid, maybe.
And can we I hate to go back to the bike, but when they got out onto the Queen K and they showed that helicopter shot of that woman's pack of, dude, I would have
12 of
goosebumps. There's 12 of them, and I was just like, oh my, this is. I said it on the podcast. We will see the largest women's pack we've ever seen.
You were right.
in the history of this
I
race.
said you were wrong, and you were right.
Phenomenal racing.
You were.
And it just goes to show how advanced or how the progression in women's sport in the professional side at the Ironman distance is just unlike any year we've ever seen here before.
Yeah, but do we think they rode too hard because they were worried about the runners behind them?
The issue is, I would
or not.
No. You would normally say yes to that, right? But I mean, Laura Phillip did not have the run off of that bike that you would think, if she's got 14-minute deficit to Lucy, she would have a little bit more in the tank for the run, right?
But one of them did.
Well, certainly one of them did, but I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's just judging off of one person. Maybe Laura didn't have the run legs. But I would say between the two of them, Lucy for sure went hard on the bike, and Taylor did as well, and we saw that, in the last couple miles. But yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, was Lucy really planning on, we talked before in the pre-race podcast, or you guys did, of that Lucy's backing her run this year. And for that bike to be shown how it was and how she played that, it almost doesn't seem like she was backing it, because she had 14 minutes. Talbot was looking at it. What was her gap that she had in 2023 when she won? It was 8 minutes or something like that.
Rennie?
No. Lucy.
Lucy in 23.
But she didn't have that gap because Taylor was right there. And Taylor's not a bad runner. And Solvig was only 6 minutes back. And Solvig has ran a 2:46 on Lake Placid. That is better than any run. Lucy is one of the greatest, and I've always said this, the best 70.3 victory I've ever seen was Lucy's world title. The best Ironman performance of all time was Lucy 2023, in my opinion. So I don't downplay her. But Solvig has run better than Lucy ever has. Lake Placid 2:46 is better than Lucy has ever come close to.
Yeah.
And she's only 6 minutes back.
Yeah.
So Lucy has to fucking go.
Yeah, for sure.
And 6 minutes in a marathon is a long
Oh, it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing. In this course,
Right.
that could disappear.
Quickly.
So we to fill everyone in, I'm sure you've watched the race. If not, basically Lucy went down into the energy lab, completely crumbled. It's on and just rough.
I thought she was doing. This is the thing. Going through the aid stations, she was faltering a lot. I was sitting in the media center watching it with her. I'm sure all the other legacy media and stuff I was watching it with is pretty annoyed at me because I was like the only person watching the movie. Have you ever been in that situation where you feel
this
like
is their jobs? This is our hobby. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, but their
Anyways,
jobs is weak.
I'm sitting in there and watching it unfold, and Lucy's going through the aid stations, and I'm like, oh, she looks rough. And then she starts running again, and I'm like, oh, she's great.
All right, so Pat can vouch for me on this and my sincerity of it. So what's happening there is Lucy is currently going through a mild heat stroke injury thing, right? And she is managing to deal with it a little bit through some ice on her head and bringing her core down a fraction, and she can refocus and she runs. But then between each aid station, it was getting worse. And then it started to get to the point where between the aid stations, she was having to walk and struggle. And Reese came past me and Pat, and I sincerely mean this when I say I deeply admire him for riding past us and saying, I'm pulling her off the course. Because she still had, by that point, like 15K to run, and she is done. She's done. Like, she's only going backwards. Every aid station will get worse. Every step will drive her core temperature higher and higher. And she gets closer and closer to the point of no return where you can potentially have, I mean, the worst case, life-threatening. Best case, like a few weeks heat injury, probably half a season, probably, you know, like could be
career ending, like Tommy Ferris or Johnny Brownlee.
Exactly. And Reese was like, I'm pulling her. And if anyone has any fucking shred of, oh, that's weak, they're wrong.
Yeah.
That is a smart, safe decision to look after your spouse. Because do you know what Lucy is? Tough as all hell. A fierce competitor, and she cannot be trusted to make rational decisions at that time frame. And Reese made it for her. And I hope I would be brave enough to do the same thing at the same time. And I really commend him for saying, you're done.
Yeah.
Get off this course, because you still have over an hour of running to go, and you're already done for. So fair play, Reese. I really admired him for that.
So pulls her off the course. Taylor commands the lead at that point. She just extends it, and then Solvig begins to run her down. Then we get about 2 kilometers from the finish.
This was the most mental thing I've watched in triathlon.
And everyone's like, I mean, I was already celebrating. I was like, oh, Taylor's the new world champion. I mean, it's
First American.
First American to ever do it. No, I'm just kidding. And then just out of nowhere, everyone who watches the live stream, she begins to stumble, and then she stops, and then she starts going, and we're in the crowd, and everyone starts screaming again, and I'm like, oh no, you're 2 kilometers out. This isn't good.
But Pat, like, let's not make light of this. This was nasty, and you were right there.
Yeah, and I was lucky enough that her coach, Dan Lorang, and I were super close, as was Kaiden. And I would say, you know, the only thing, there was a bunch of stuff that was really unsettling about it, but the big one is that she was clearly struggling, and Dan and I can't help her until she effectively puts her hand up and says, I'm quitting the race. And I do think that this...
that needs addressing.
This will be addressed later, because we had Ironman staff that was looking at Dan and I to almost, I don't want to say make a mistake, but they were there to ensure that, like, we didn't
help her
in a way. And I think it was...
Pat, you're the agent. Dan's the coach. She doesn't have a partner like Reese here. At that point as well, my gripe is also with the fact that Ironman have a referee that just follows the athlete around all day to make sure someone doesn't run alongside and say something. They were super great today, by the way. This isn't a stab on the referees. I'm not knocking the referees. There needs to be a policy, because the minute someone hits the deck and they're really that bad with a heat injury, minutes matter. Like they desperately matter.
Yeah.
And whilst there's this indecision, like Taylor's okay now, and we're
Yep.
super grateful for that. But once she's laying on red hot tarmac, she can't really talk. She's basically
Yep.
passed out. Minutes really can matter,
Yeah.
and someone needs to have the authority to be like, we need help.
You
And it
think
doesn't cost her race, by the way. It shouldn't be like a fear.
Yeah.
The ref should be like, fucking help her. Is she okay?
Yeah.
And no Kat, like I as Kat's partner trying to run into the win,
Right.
is never going to say, oh, but she got an ice pack because you thought she was dying and then she walked to the finish line.
Yeah.
Like, I want the athlete to be safe, and I think that should be the priority.
Do you think the answer to that though is like them having a medical person following the pros during the race
No,
with the
I wanna-
referee?
I wanna
or-
You can't follow 50.
Yeah, and I want to give a little. I do want to give credit. Like when it got called in, the response time for medical to come and get there was really quick. We just got really lucky that
What does that look like? Couple minutes?
probably 4 or 5 minutes. But I would say where we got lucky was down half a block away. There was somebody that had a cooler full of ice and cold water, so that's
Sure.
what she was getting, like dumped all over.
Did you
but-
guys? Did you, Kaiden? You were out there seeing her. Did you see this coming?
No, not.
No, they
honestly,
came out of nowhere.
Not at all.
Came out of
Completely
nowhere.
out of nowhere. Me and Pat were leapfrogging for the last 5K at that point. Not together, but we were always separated by probably 400 to 600 meters. And the last gap that we gave, or that I gave, was 2:11. And it was slowly going down. And Solvig was slowing down a little bit. And Taylor was not necessarily slowing down, but almost kind of more or less holding the gap at that point. And then I went like 200 meters past that aid station that she walked through. Pat was up the road. And I mean, I turn and she's walking. And I have Pat on the phone. I'm like, she's walking. She gets out of the aid station, starts running a little bit. And I thought she was just like crossing the road to get to like one side to take like a straight line up the hill. And then she swerved back and then swerved back again. And then I was like, I mean, it just happened within 30 seconds. She was on the ground. From like being like, oh, she has a chance of winning this thing, to on the ground. And then Pat came over. And again, I agree. Like when it comes to having someone that gets to the ground, I sat there and I was like, I'm not a manager. I'm not a coach. I can't help her. And especially if I go over and like even like talk to her, I don't want to be the one that gets her a penalty, obviously. So it's not my place. But I think for Pat or for a coach, when your athlete hits the deck and they're on the ground, there should be some sort of
There should be like in boxing or UFC, like a towel throw moment.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And there is, really. That's what
Yeah.
Reese did.
Yeah.
And you just have to be brave enough to do it.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. And that's why I give Reese that shout out. Like, it is, I've never had to do it. And I can't imagine how hard that is to do. But I do really implore other athletes, support staff, to be brave in that moment and look after the long-term health rather than the chance they could get up and crawl to a win, you know?
Yeah.
And once she's on the ground, everyone there knew Solvig was only 2 minutes behind.
Yeah.
Well, she's getting run down for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So
it's hard.
we're 3 to 4K to go. We've now lost
2.
2K to
It was
go.
at mile 24. It was
Yeah.
at mile 24.
This is where it gets.
So we're now
Hey.
4K from the finish line, and the two people who had been leading this race for the last 8 hours are now out of this race, and now it's kind of anyone's game. Now
Well, it's Solvig's
game
Yeah.
to finish out. She's running, and then we watch her run down Polani, and I'm like watching the jumbo screen behind us, and it appears like she's kind of swerving a little bit, but she's running downhill, so it's like it's hard to tell if she's like
She
actually.
has that
Yeah.
kind of kick-out leg thing she does at the back.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to tell if
No,
she's swerving
no.
or not.
But it wasn't only on Polani, because right when she passed Taylor, she did ask if Taylor was okay and kept running. So kudos for that.
I will say, I thought Solvig was with it all day. I think she was just tired.
Yeah.
That's what I will say.
Yeah.
And then she goes on. We start looking at the tracker. Kat's running her down, and we're like, is she gonna falter? I mean, if she would have walked once, Kat would have caught her.
I knew that Kat wasn't going to catch her from like before she left the Energy Lab, and I switched to like, there's a run course record here. I was trying to think of other things because what you don't want to tell an athlete is like, you're 4 minutes back.
Yeah.
You're done for.
Well, I was as Kat was entering the energy lab, and Kat and I have joked about this. I told her, I said, it is total carnage in front of you, and I am not lying to you to make you feel better. And she did kind of smile when I said that. Like,
Yeah.
I go, it is, because she was in a weird place, right? Where she was 10 minutes behind Lucy or Kayla at that point. And then there was this humongous 5.5 minute gap to Solvig. Like, so she is running. They're sitting going like, God, well, what the hell am I doing? Like, it is going to be really tough to catch a person.
Yeah.
You know?
I was out there on the run course, and I heard Mark at one point way down the road. There are 3 in front of you, and one of them's gonna blow. So just hang on.
Well, I was wrong. 2 of them did.
So now Kat's closing this gap, coming downhill. Like, obviously downhill, it's a lot harder to close the gap. And then they got onto the flat,
Well,
and then the
not
gap
so much.
continued.
So we've talked this entire time that the finish line is the top of Polani. That has always been our finish line.
Always.
Because Kat runs
the whole
downhill like
sport.
you cannot imagine.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know anyone that can run downhill with Kat. And so that's always been her, like, if I get to the top of Polani with anyone, I will win this race. So, like, I've always said, so I got up on the, like, on Google. I could, like, Google walk from where I saw her. I was like, 1.9K to the finish line. And that was the top of Polani.
Yep.
And she let rip, but hey, Solvig had it. She had the goods. Solvig got it done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Solveig crosses the finish line first, becomes the 4th Norwegian now, first Norwegian female to win an Ironman World Championship on debut.
And we say this all the time. There is not a nicer person to do it.
Yeah.
So we had this thing in Zelamzi where we had to share a table with them for 7 days because the Ironman staff just booked us into the hotel and you get put on the same table.
Yeah.
And we were just forced into meeting them. And her and her partner are honestly annoyingly lovely. So
Yeah. Yeah, he's great. He's super nice.
he's a lovely
Yeah.
guy. And you know what? What a magnificent win.
Yeah.
Solo bike ride, solo run.
Yeah.
Take the dub.
I'm going to say this is going to be controversial, maybe a little bit, but Macaulay Eden's her coach, wins that world championship. Casper Stornes, who was his coach for multiple years, wins the world championship. I understand that they all left and went together this
That's
year.
not controversial.
But
what a massive year for Macaulay Eden credibility.
McCall had a monster season.
100%.
So he will never say this, but that's just my opinion and observation.
Just to clarify, McCall is not the coach of Casper now.
Not anymore.
Previously,
But he did many,
Yeah.
many years.
Many
And,
years. Yeah,
and
yeah.
we always say this, like, Kat will still credit now her current performances to Bjorn,
Yeah.
her previous coach, because you are not made in a year.
Right.
You are made on a foundation of healthy ethoses, good training,
Yeah.
background, etc.
Yeah.
So fair play, McCall.
Yeah.
And who is...
Second place was Katrina Matthews, taking down the run course record, running a 2:47.23. Shout out to her run coach, Mark Matthews, who will retain his job. And probably, I mean, Mark,
Jack Kelly, you're watching.
do you
You call me out on this.
want to
See his face right now.
do you want to
By the
open
way,
up your coaching platform on Trainingpeaks? You're going
I-
to release some training data?
Just so we're very clear, though it was implied my future coaching career would be in jeopardy if, Kat ran badly, I have no interest in being a coach. I have no interest in a future coaching career. I don't care about any of that. And I'm just really happy my wife ran well.
There you go.
I love that.
So, no, I won't coach your running because Kat's the easiest person in the world to coach running. I don't know what I'm doing. I basically just say, maybe run a bit slower today. Maybe we won't do 3-minute Ks and you'll get injured. So we'll just go a little bit slower. Perhaps, we'll do 5x5 threshold.
So you guys do have those questions rolling around of what if? Or nah?
This race?
Yeah.
Oh, Kat, no. Solvig, wonderful win.
Yeah.
But Solvig knows Kat rode terribly.
Yeah.
Kat's raced her many times this year.
Yeah.
Kat, this is the first time I've seen Kat upset with second.
Yeah.
She's always been really happy with second. She got beat by Daniela Rife on a fucking day in St. George. I swore. I've done it. I ruined the podcast.
You've done it 4 times already.
Have I actually? Okay,
you
cool.
have.
Yeah, fine. So Solvig, so Daniela Rife on that one. Laura Phillip was amazing last year. She's lost to Taylor Knibb twice at 70.3 was, but she's always been happy because they're on their days.
Right.
I think she knows she could have won this one.
Yeah.
But she didn't, and Solvig did.
Yeah.
So
Rounding out the podium was Laura Phillip, who I would say was not a favorite going into this race. Obviously, her win in Nice, there was a lot of question marks rolling around of is she going to be able to make it in Kona and do it in Kona? For her to round out the podium, I feel is a monster performance and great for her and Phillip.
I think they're bitterly disappointed. I think because
Fair.
I know that she's riding really well right now too, and I think her and Kat are both in the same boat of what were we doing on the bike.
Yeah.
But yeah, fine.
35 seconds later, unfortunately, she has to go second one more time, and then she'll be allowed to win.
Oh, so now she's done second in St. George,
Yeah.
Nice, and Kona.
Yeah, so she
That's
has.
a brutal
That's a better.
clean sweep.
That's a
isn't it?
better.
Because
That's a pretty baller resume.
Lucy was the bridesmaid 4 times,
Oh no, sod that.
so you sort it out next year.
No, we don't have to wait for a world title. We got Marbella in 4 weeks.
Ooh.
And what have I said all year? Kat has a better chance at winning Marbella than Kona.
Yeah.
And I didn't pick Kat for this. Even to you boys, I said Lucy was the favorite. I've
Yep.
said it.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good.
Cool. I'm just going to go down the results a little bit just to give some people their flowers because it was a monster day, monster performances. 4th place, Hannah Berry, huge performance for her. She's been in run battles the entire season, and her and Lisa Perder's run battle came down to the end. So shout out to Hannah Berry, 4th place. Lisa Perder, 5th place. Huge breakout season for her after racing short course for years and years and years. Now able to come and make that transition to doing 70.3 T100 Ironman. Holly Lawrence, top mom, 6th place. Huge performance, her debut here in Kona.
Great race.
Her second full Ironman.
Second full Ironman.
That's nothing. Nothing but shout out for her and Sean.
Poppy's what? Turned one.
Turned one last week.
Yep.
A week
1
ago.
year ago.
Gave birth a year ago and just got 6th at the Ironman World Championships.
Huge. Top American was Jocelyn McCauley. Huge. I would say that most people didn't pick her for being top
Huge,
American.
yeah,
So
massive result for her.
yeah. Sarah Svensk, who hasn't had the best season, coming around out or be in the top 10. Huge.
I mean,
So
and I'm going to pause on that on number 8. Sarah Svensk, she was way back out of the water and looked at me coming up Polani and said, "Today is not my day." And she hung in there all day. And to get a top 10 from where she was at out of the swim, great race.
she had the fourth fastest run split of the day, 2:56.29. So, can we get into I know that this is what we're at, 45 minutes. I just got a couple of hot takes real quick. Number one, from what we witnessed today, it was I've said this all week, this was going to be a great crescendo for bringing both the men and women back to Kona next year. I'm going to push back on we need to change the run course and make it 3 loops. I love this. I loved this today.
Talbot, what did you tell me before the podcast started when we were on our way up here
I don't remember.
about Nice and Kona?
Oh, I mean, you can't even compare Nice to this course. This is why this race is here.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened today is why this race is here.
I would say too, just visually, even having the photos of Taylor and Lucy on the Queen K,
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more inclined to agree with you. We can't do the 3 laps of a Leahy drive because that bit on the Queen K is so iconic,
Yeah.
right? And so, yeah, I guess I'm after seeing it today in person, and if you ask me on Saturday night after the race, I agree. The run course is just going to be a true marathon, out and back style. You know? Yeah.
Okay. Next one. With both the race in Nice with the men and now the race in Nice in Kona being such an incredible story and incredible races, we're now going back to a single-day World Championship. How does Ironman? I was talking with someone this week about Ironman's a smart company. You don't get to be around for 50 years if you're not a smart company. They understand that the broadcast is priority number 1, and they were testing a lot of stuff here. They ran the broadcast here out of Kona. They didn't do it out of the Boulder facility, so they did that this time. And then also with the men and women going together, I'm on the standpoint of we probably need to have 3 broadcasts. We need to have an ability to have a men's broadcast, a women's broadcast, and then the co-ed broadcast of what everyone is going to see. So if you want to watch the men's race, you can. If you want to watch the women's race, you can. And then the co-ed broadcast.
I think that's probably the way to do it. they need to decide. I don't know what it looks like.
They have enough anchors now. They have Crowy.
Yeah.
They have Greg. And then on the women's broadcast, you have Daniela and you have Rinny. That's an answer.
Yeah, to bring that in-house, I'd say, I don't know the logistics of moving it away from outside and just having it on their platform.
Yeah.
Straight up seems to be the best way to do it. But to have that...
I logged into a VPN, and there was 28,000 people watching on YouTube. Just FYI.
Yeah, so there's...
28.
there's
I think there's a lot more than 28.
On
that's
one
just
time
on-
when I
that's-
clicked in.
Yeah, that's just on
YouTube.
Just
That's
on
not.
YouTube.
That's not
including outside watch.
That's like
Yeah.
literally...
Outside watches all of America, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I never even saw the number 28,000 all day. Like, I was seeing 45, 50 a couple times.
Yeah.
So
I think it's something that's worth exploring. I think what made me realize coming here this week is, it will be overwhelming again to have both genders racing simultaneously, but certainly that's the way it's got to be here.
Yeah.
It felt, the venues felt all a little light this week, right?
Yeah.
But I think, the problem is the venues felt a little light, but then you go over to the pier where they got all the bikes on, and I'm sitting there, I'm going, shit, where are they going to put the remaining 1,400 bikes? Because this thing's packed out right now.
Yeah.
But I like coming here and that everything's the same. You know how to get around the venue. That part of it is really predictable, and I did really enjoy that. So,
Yeah. Fair?
yeah.
Good?
Mhm.
Next one, Ironman. If we're giving him a grade this weekend, for me, it's an A. I had no complaints. The broadcast was incredible. All the activations were incredible. I feel like they knocked it out of the park.
this is one of those, it's hard not to give them an A. I think that this is one of those weekends visually for the sport that there's going to be a bunch of other eyeballs from outside of triathlon that are sitting there going, holy shit, did you see that Ironman World Championship this weekend where all these women were dropping out in spectacular fashion? And I think it's just one of those moments that has the opportunity or the possibility to go beyond just the coverage in our little endemic bubble.
Yeah.
And so I think, I don't like that it was at the expense of two athletes, but I think that it's something that will bring. It's just one of those sporting moments that are going to bring a bunch of new eyeballs in.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Being from here and having friends usually just call me asking me on race day how to get around the race and to go surf or go do whatever. I got multiple calls, multiple texts today saying, is this athlete okay? That was incredible. Just the amount of interest from some of my friends today was I've never had that before. The only thing I'd ever see was maybe one little video clip of someone passing on a bike. But today there was serious interest outside the sport. Yeah, I give them an A as well.
It's no secret that our podcast had a live show this week. I kind of want to just talk about that a little bit and the ability that Canyon was so gracious in allowing us to move that just because of the amount of people that were wanting to come and be here. Did you guys feel like the live show met the hype, met your guys' expectations? How do you guys feel about everything this weekend?
I mean, obviously from us filling out a room compared to when we did our very first live show in St. George 4 years ago, I mean, it's gone to another level. And especially for, our show being, dominated by male listeners at a women's only Kona, to have the show packed out, I think is something that we can all look and give ourselves a pretty big pat on the back. I will say doing the shows live is a different challenge for us and can be a little, I'll say, sloppy at times, because when we're doing the show at home, we're following along with our notes on the right?
You use the show notes?
I'm going split screen. I'm looking at the show notes.
Yeah.
We're again, I don't want to go.
You're flying blind?
We've got our text, we've got our chat set up as well.
Yeah.
So we're teeing stuff up that way.
Yeah.
So there's a few little things that we can do to put the ball on the tee for each other.
Yeah.
That's a little bit harder to do when we're going live, right? The difference is what I do like is we can put the microphone down and we can shoulder over and say, hey, help transition us.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably I'm going super inside baseball for those watching, but that's the big one for me where it's just doing the live show is a little bit more clunky. We just got to get, because we're not practiced.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think it's being here, being on the island, being a part of the community is the most important thing for us. We love this community. They are why we're here today. This race is one of the reasons why we have this podcast, this and short course Olympic distance, and without that, we wouldn't even be this podcast. So,
That being said,
this is a wrap on the show.
No, I gotta say one more thing.
okay.
I gotta
Kaiden.
say one more thing,
Okay,
and this is something that even during the post-race press conference, I almost wanted to just stand up and just say it. Today, Taylor and Lucy went for the win, right? They weren't racing for second. They weren't racing for third. And I felt like in the press conference after the race, no one directly said at all like, oh, Solvig just won because she was in the right place at the right time and 2 people dropped out. Solvig ran this race how she wanted to run this race, and she won off of her smarts. Taylor said directly to us, she was running to win this race. She didn't want second place. And so that allowed Taylor to crack, And so I just want to give major props to all the girls that made the top 10 today, that they deserve the spot. They earned the spot. It wasn't because 2 people dropped out, but those two people dropped out because they were not necessarily scared of what was behind them, but because they were pushing to win the race.
Yeah.
And that's just how racing goes.
Yeah.
Solvig 100% deserves that world championship.
Fair.
Yeah,
That's it.
agree 100%.
Close out the
And
show. Close out the
She
weekend.
uses Trainingpeaks. So massive shout out to our
And her coach uses Trainingpeaks, and the coaching platform is part of Trainingpeaks.
massive thanks to Trainingpeaks. They've been incredible to us all week. We had a blast. We had a blast being here on the island. Shout out to Ironman, phenomenal event. We're going to have 1 or 2 more shows on this World Championship. It was too good to not keep talking about. So this is just a post-race recap. So we'll come to you guys live later on. Appreciate you listening.
Peace.